Hello, friends. I'm glad to see you all here at this webinar on how to make money from metallurgical waste. First of all, I want to say thanks to our partner. This webinar is brought to you with the informational support of the Steel Manufacturing Group on LinkedIn. As one of the largest communities in the metallurgy field, boasting over 100,000 members, the group is dedicated to sharing valuable insights to enhance steel production efficiency across various furnace types. The group's administrators are actively working to grow the community. You are encouraged to share the group link with colleagues and friends so they too can benefit from its resources. Let's come back to the topic of our webinar, how to make money from metallurgical waste. I want to share how to make really big money from metallurgical waste. This is not about deal making or buying and selling anything. This webinar is about building a business in waste recycling. I believe this topic is incredibly relevant right now. Why do I think so? Why do I believe that now is the time to focus on waste? Currently, about 1 billion tons of metal products are produced worldwide each year, generating approximately 350 million tons of waste. How did I calculate this? For each ton of final product, about 400 kilos of waste is produced in the blast furnace converter steelmaking process and 200 kilograms in electric arc furnace production. 70% of steel is produced at integrated steel mills using blast furnaces and converters, while 30% is produced in electric arc furnaces. Altogether, that's around 350 million tons of waste per year. Some of it gets recycled, while some doesn't. I know this from visiting metallurgical steel mills. A significant amount of metallurgical slag is also landfilled. It's hard to say exactly how much metallurgical waste has been disposed of in total, but I think it's several billion tons. Let me give you an example from Europe. A legacy slag dump in the Balkans with 20 million tons of slag. There is even a recycling company there, but the slag doesn't sell well. Another example, take the former Kremikovtsi plant in Bulgaria, which operated from 1963 to 2009. Its design capacity was 2 million tons, but let's assume it produced 1 million tons of steel annually. Over 46 years of operation, it produced 46 million tons of steel and generated 20 million tons of slag. This is just a story of 2 steel mills in Europe. Imagine what's happening on other continents. I believe there are several billion tons of metallurgical waste buried worldwide. And even if it's 1 billion, that's already enormous. I want to say that at the end of this webinar, I'm going to talk about 2 extremely useful courses. One is paid and one is free. So stay tuned to the end to learn about the useful information. So there are a large waste recycling companies out there. Let's take a closer look at them. Harsco. The company's value $730 million. The number of employees is 12,000 people. Harsco specializes in environmental solutions for industrial waste, including slag processing and dust management. Let's look at their company website. So we have the way of utilized of slag. So refractories, metallurgical additives, aggregates, cement, asphalt, agriculture, abrasives, and roofing. The next, TMS International. TMS operates globally with an estimated 4,500 employees. It provides on-site industrial services to steel mills, including slag handling and metal recovery, and operates in over 90 locations worldwide. While its current market value isn't readily available, TMS is known for its extensive partnership with steel producers and focus on efficient material processing and recovery. Let's look at the company website. What do we see? We see the way of use of slag road surfaces, ice control, road beds, asphalt also, and again cement. Let's go further. Befesa, founded in 1987. Befesa is headquartered in Luxembourg and focuses on recycling hazardous materials. Befesa, founded in 1987, Befesa is headquartered in Luxembourg and focuses on recycling hazardous materials from the steel and aluminum industries. It has a market cap of approximately $1.3 billion and employs around 2,000 people. Befesa specializes in recovering valuable metals, particularly zinc from electric arc furnace dust, and operates primarily in Europe and Asia. Let's take a look at what they are doing. So we see steel dust recycling services and aluminum salt slag recycling services. The story of Befesa is truly inspiring. In just 37 years, they built a company with a market capitalization exceeding $1 billion, all based on metallurgical waste. Impressive, isn't it? And yet even giants like Befesa and Harsco don't cover the entire slag recycling market. There is still 1 billion tons of waste waiting for someone brave enough to step in and say, I want to work here. And I tell you exactly how to take advantage of such massive opportunity. On the one hand, there is a lot of waste waiting to be recycled. And on the other hand, you can build a waste recycling company that will have a good market cap from nothing. Let me tell you about myself. My name is Andrei Karablin, and since 2006, I've been involved in the recycling and sale of metallurgical waste. I started within one country, Russia. Then we began exporting abroad. Now we no longer export from Russia, but we have operated in 35 countries around the world, and we continue working in many of them. My partners and I have processed 30 million tons of slag in the territory of the former Soviet Union at 10 different sites where we have worked with different kinds of slag. I speak at international conferences on metallurgy and metallurgical waste. My articles are published in industry magazines. But that is not the main thing. The main thing is that I have access to unique solutions in the field of waste treatment. When I learn something new, I go and check for myself how it works. It is not enough for me to have theoretical knowledge about the use of certain waste. It's important for me to see if it works and makes a profit. As an example, in the top right photo, I am standing next to DRI fines at Iranian steel mill. My friend, the director of the plant, uses 100% of this raw material in an induction furnace to produce billets. He was forced to learn to work with this difficult raw material because of very high scrap prices that didn't allow him to make money. Due to the use of DRI fines, the productivity of the plant has been halved, but the plant is making $100 per 1 ton of finished product. Those of us already in the industry will know that this is a good profit margin. I collect such contacts, and it allows me to compete with giants. I consider the waste market to be a blue ocean. If you are not familiar with the book Blue Ocean Strategy, a blue ocean is a market situation with lots of opportunities, as opposed to the red ocean, where you have to fight your competitors to expand your market share and survive. I will share a couple of cases where businesses were created from scratch to sell metallurgical waste. One friend of mine told me that during an inspection at steel mill, he noticed a pile of mixed pellets, coal and coke. Curious, he asked about it. It turned out to be a stockpile of mixed material. He wondered what he could do with it and found a solution in China, selling all this waste there. He then started exporting mill scale from South America when it was still permitted to export such waste to China, and he earned millions of dollars from these deals. And when he told me this story, he emphasized that no one was thinking of how to use this kind of waste. Another example, my acquaintance supplies filter dust to South Korea. He found a decades-old stockpile of dust and spent 3 years obtaining permits. Now he has begun developing the site with an expected business profit of around $10 million. These examples show that metallurgical waste offers huge opportunity for generating substantial income. I have shared examples of smaller ventures, deals, not full-fledged businesses. But today I want to show you the potential for building more sustainable long-term projects. At the start of 2024, I set an ambitious goal for my company and for myself. Until 2024, we had vast experience in slag processing in former Soviet Union, and we also learned how to sell metallurgical waste all over the world. And the goal I set was to become an international waste processing company and process slag in different countries. So now we have discovered a way to gather data on potential slag recycling projects. So far, we have identified a list of slag dumps with a total accumulated volume of around 120 million tons of slag. And here's the kicker, we haven't even made significant effort yet. The reason I am telling you this is that it has shown me that slag recycling niche is wide open. Ladies and gentlemen, slag is waiting for its rightful owners, those who will come, recycle it, and turn it into profit. That's why I decided to share how the slag recycling business is built. I am confident that you won't hear this information anywhere else because those who know it would never reveal it. At the end of this webinar, I will invite you to join a 2-month course on building a slag recycling business. Why did I decide to create this course? Most importantly, there is more waste than I can recycle alone. By sharing this knowledge, I contribute to waste recycling and help make our planet cleaner, a vital social mission of our business. And I want you to make contribution and share this webinar with your friends. The second one, training my team for global impact. This course will also serve as a training tool for my employees, who will travel to countries with slag dumps to establish businesses based on my method. Third one, fostering partnerships. Some participants may become my partners, others might explore investment opportunities, and a few could even lead one of our projects. These goals require me to create a high-quality course, one that inspires you to continue working with me beyond the training. Now, let's get back to the webinar. I prepared this webinar when I was in a country where we were exploring a new business opportunity. I felt like an elite Delta Force ranger venturing into unfamiliar territory or planning to establish a business. Today, I will show you each step of how I do this. You can use this webinar to create a guide for your territory development manager, or I can send you this guide. It's ready for my employees. Stay with us until the end, and I will tell you how you can receive this valuable instruction. All our decisions should follow the three rules. They should be fast, efficient, and cheap. Let's take a look of 2 different videos. It's the first one. It is the second one. In the first video, you saw a stationary plant in Georgia built by our specialists. In the second video, we see a mobile solution. In the foreground, there is a jaw crusher, and in the background, a sorting unit. Which option is better? There is no exact answer. It all depends on the project. But let me share my perspective. I always prioritize profit here and now. Of course, future planning is also important, but I have seen unsuccessful slag processing projects where costly equipment worth 1 or several million euros is ordered upfront. Later, it fails to pay for itself. Additionally, it's worth considering that setting up, installing, and launching such equipment can take about a year. My approach is highly pragmatic. Profit comes first, then investments. In this webinar, I will share with how I build business around slag processing. Let's begin to the case. We received information that a plant is tendering for the disposal of 1 million tons of slag. I got visa and went to meet with them. During my visit, I saw 1 million tons of electrical furnace slag that needed to be processed. I was accompanied by my production director, who has processed over 13 million tons of slag. Together, we decided that a mobile sorting unit would be the best option in this case. But let's see the slag, what we inspected. It is a white slag from metal furnace. And another video, it's a black slag after electrical furnace. We estimated the scrap content to be around 3–4%. The steel mill said that they would use ferrous fraction scrap, so we don't need to consider export logistics. They also mentioned they had already contacted a cement plant that received samples and seemed willing to use the slag. During the plant tour, they also mentioned that filter dust was being used by a buyer in agriculture. The steel mill gave me certificates listing waste codes, explaining that under local law, no recycling license is required for this type of waste. I compiled a list of tasks to develop our business model. First one, to calculate processing options and costs. The second, to establish sales channels. The third one, to take care of the legal considerations, company setup, bank accounts, necessary licenses. By completing these tasks, I can build a financial model and return to negotiations with the steel mill. Let's look at it step by step. To be honest, I would prefer to begin by building sales channels. However, for clarity, I will start with recycling process itself. Slag is processed mainly through fractional sorting, magnetic separation, and crushing or grinding if necessary. As a result, we should end up with following fractions. From 0 to 10, just on magnetic. I don't want to extract magnetic part. From 10 to 70, from 70 to 300 millimeters, both magnetic and non-magnetic. And 300 millimeters plus, just a magnetic fraction. What equipment do we need? The production director has decided that for this project, we will need a mobile sorting line with magnets installed on conveyors, as well as a front loader. We also need 6 to 10 production staff members. Ideally, we would initially like to rent all this equipment. As the project develops, if we see that it is operational and has a steady cash flow, then we can start considering purchasing the equipment. So we have the following processing tasks. Find a sorting line for rent and calculate the costs of installing magnets. Find a front loader for rent. Calculate the processing cost using rented equipment. Calculate the cost of new or used equipment with delivery. Calculate the processing cost using owned equipment. Go through the sales channels. As I mentioned, the issue of selling of metal part of the material is preliminarily resolved. However, I still need an alternative option. I need a meeting with a customs broker to discuss the selection of the customs code for exporting the waste. In our practice, we can use 4 HS codes depending on the material and specific customs regulations. This doesn't imply any misrepresentation or violation of the law. When it comes to describing codes for waste, things are not always clear. For example, if waste is processed, is it still considered waste or a product? On one hand, we try to use these ambiguities to our advantage, but it's crucial that we align our decision with regulatory authorities. So let's examine it closer. Which codes can we use? 7204, 2619, 7201, 7203. These are the codes. Let's assess the discrepancies that we need to consider carefully and see if there anything we can use to our advantage. Let's read code 7204, ferrous waste and scrap. Now let's read 2619, which includes other waste from iron and steel. You can see some similarities, yes? You can see that the definitions are somewhat similar. And we must take this into account and discuss it with customs. For example, in this country, the export of goods under HS code 2604 is prohibited. However, the export of slag under code 2619 is permitted. In this case, we need to ensure our product is classified as HS code 2619. Again, I emphasize, never alter any documents. Go through official channels and make your case. That's it. The customs issue is clear as the task is defined. The next set of tasks aimed at developing sales channels focused on the mineral component of slag, the part that is non-magnetic. Here we have more options to discuss. Cement plants. As you may recall, I mentioned that the metallurgical plant has already sent slag samples to a cement plant. I need to know exactly which types of slag were sent and confirm the cement plant's readiness to use slag, as well as the volumes they are considering. Additionally, there is a second cement company in this country. The father of one of my employees' friends used to work as a top manager there. We will work on establishing supply channels through him. Also, right now, I am in active negotiations with cement plants and experts in the field of slag recycling. I will be able to provide you with the most comprehensive information of the potential use of slag in the cement industry. For example, one of the cement plants we have been working with was built by a company that specialized in a large-scale slag recycling, including the use of its own slag in production. As a result, in their process, they are using 30% mixed slag from an own old slag dump, reducing CO2 emission by 20%. These valuable insights will be available to you during the course. Now, let's return to the development of sales channels. Roads construction. Slag can be used for, so colleagues, I see questions. We can read questions later after the webinar and answer it, okay? But you can send questions to the chat just to avoid that you forget it. So slag can be used for filling roads without asphalt covering. They are also utilized as a foundation layer for the construction of highways. Our task is to identify road gravel producers within 100-150 kilometer radius of the steel mill, find out their selling prices and gravel specifications, and compare them with ours. This will serve as a benchmark for selling our slag for road construction. Typically, if we set our price at half of the market rate, customers will buy slag gravel from us. However, we will need to certify our products for this. Agriculture. Agriculture is well developed in the country. As we learned, the metallurgical plant filter dust is already being used for agricultural purposes. Our task is to find out who is purchasing filter dust and to negotiate with farmers about the supply of slag. Competitor analysis. Here I will highlight a particular opportunity. We have observed that a large company, one of the leaders in slag processing, operates at one of the metallurgical plants in this country. We want to get in touch with them to find out where they sell their slag. I don't think that we would be a direct competitor, as the steel mills are quite far from each other. However, if we can't get information directly, we might try to learn from former employees of this company. Benchmarking is always valuable. That concludes the part related to establishing sales channels. And now let's move on to the issue related to legal entity registration and licenses. We have already arranged a meeting with lawyers specializing in business registration and joint venture formation. This is a massive part of work and I will be addressing it systematically. The second part involves obtaining the necessary licenses. As I mentioned, based on information from the metallurgical plant, we might not need a license to work with this type of slag. However, it's essential that we verify this ourselves. We also have to work on certification of our product for the local use. And here the summary of the list of tasks that need to be resolved. Okay, now let's move on the most interesting part for entrepreneurs, money, and let's calculate the potential of profit from the project. I have an economic model that we use to calculate the profitability of the project. We always consider pessimistic scenario and optimistic scenario. My production director and I estimated the fraction content in slag as follows. In the pessimistic scenario, from 10 to 70 and from 7 to 300, so we mentioned here 1000, doesn't matter, 3%, and in optimistic 4%. That's what I entered. I play with numbers. I can adjust the processing volume, processing cost, and investment. But let's not get into details at this point. For the pessimistic scenario, I assume that we don't sell the slag portion at all. Of course, we will sell it eventually, but it will take time to establish the sales channels. In the optimistic scenario, I indicated that we would sell it. So with the sale price of iron at 150 euros, processing cost at 2 euros, and purchasing price of slag from steel mill at 1 euro, the annual profit from the project is about 450,000 euros. In optimistic scenario, let me share, 2.25 million euros. In both cases, the return of the investment period of the project is less than 1 year. This is rough estimate, but it provides enough information to hold preliminary discussion. Of course, in this webinar, we have only touched the tip of the iceberg. And we will have to delve much deeper in our course to gain a professional and practical understanding of the matter in hand. Now, let's take a look at the training program. First, I will tell you about paid course and then about free paid. The first, types of metallurgical waste based on the type of production. I will tell you about the specific types of waste generated in the steel production process, depending on the type of metallurgical production. We will discuss the waste generated from blast furnaces and other furnaces and how they differ from each other. I will teach you how to make your first call to a metallurgical plant. At an advanced level, which you can choose, the homework will be to contact metallurgical plant and find out what types of waste they generate if they have any problem with the waste disposal. If you wish, Throughout the course, you will be able to work on a project specifically for this plant. By the end of the course, you will have an economic model for slag recycling and clear plan to set up a business with a metallurgical plant of your choice. Sorry, colleagues. Let me mute. The second method of applying various types of slag. Here we will discuss where different slag types are applied. We will analyze the metallurgical, cement, and road construction industries, and we will look for the best ways to utilize slag. If you have already contacted a specific plant by this point, we will work on solutions tailored to your case. If you work at a metallurgical plant, you will see what opportunities are available to you. You may create a project for a subsidiary company and lead it. If you work in a recycling company, I am sure you will find plenty of new insights too. The third one, the relevance of slag recycling in the context of decarbonization trends. We will explore why it is especially important to focus on slag right now. A little spoiler. The metallurgical industry is the #1 industry in terms of CO2 emission. And who is the second? The cement industry. The issue of slag recycling sits at the intersection of these two industries. In my opinion, slag recycling is a primary beneficiary of decarbonization. The fourth one, technology for recycling metallurgical waste. In this section, we will look at how slag is recycled and what equipment is used. We will learn about the design of certain lines, the differences between mobile and stationary plants, types of crushers, and methods for recycling large-size pieces. After this part, you will know everything there is to know about slag recycling. The fifth, legal issues in dealing with waste. We will discuss legislative matters such as what licenses are required and how to search for relevant information. I will share with you waste codes, which are usually the same across countries. I will show you how to navigate legal issues before tasking lawyers with them. Additionally, we will cover how to export waste from one country to another and discuss the specifics of the Basel Convention of the transport of waste. I will teach you how to understand customs codes. The sixth financial model for slags. For slag sales. Finally, we will create a financial model together. In this webinar, I'll show you a basic model, but in the course, we will delve into every figure. I will explain where each number comes from and what it depends on, so you will be able to build a financial model independently. The course will last for 2 months. Over 8 weeks, once a week, we will meet for 2 to 3 hours. In the first half of the lesson, I will provide theoretical knowledge, and in the second half, I will answer your questions and review your projects. We plan to start at the end of February. The numbers of participants is limited to 20 people to ensure that I can devote enough attention to each project. If individual calls are necessary, I will conduct them. I think it's very exciting. I mentioned that my main goal is for us to continue working together after the course. However, I cannot share this knowledge for free. You will take it seriously based on the cost you or your company will pay for it. I have thought about the price. I set the initial price for the course at 1,999 euros, and price will go up closer to the beginning of the course. Considering the fact that many of you are seeing me for the first time, I understand how important it is to establish trust between us. To help with that, I am sharing a course called Metallurgical Fundamentals for Directors and Sales Professionals completely free. Over the course of 4 lectures, I will guide you through the fundamentals of metallurgy. On this slide, you can see various methods of steel production. During these 4 lectures, we will cover each section, what goes in, the process description, and what comes out. By the end of the course, you will have a solid understanding of the basic of metallurgy that will help you become a more skilled professional in this field. This information is essential for everyone working in the metallurgical industry, whether you are part of steel plant or a company operating in the metallurgical sector. I will explain it in the simplest way possible. I have such a talent. Let me give you an example. I developed my company, but leveraging this knowledge. I don't have a formal degree in metallurgy, but I knew that technical knowledge would lead to results. Today, I understand metallurgical processes, including chemical reaction that take place, even though chemistry was not my strongest subject in the school. I gained this knowledge through discussions with metallurgists and visits to metallurgical plants. These fundamentals are important for working with metallurgical waste. Without a basic understanding of metallurgy, it will be difficult to progress through the main course. And even you are not planning to take the main course, the metallurgy fundamentals course will still be incredibly valuable. Let me tell you a couple of more cases. The first case is about results. The second is about opportunity. A successful case of my training can be considered to be my employees. I will tell you our project manager, Pavel Kadin. Thanks to the knowledge I shared with him every day, he developed our project in Romania. We have now opened a company there and obtained a license for waste processing. The company's profit for this year will be about 500,000 euros. And we don't have an office or employees in Romania. Not bad, right? So it's an example that difficult projects can be easier than we expected, but we have to have an access to knowledge and successful cases. Pavel managed the project in Romania. We have not big volume of the slag there. It's a foundry asked us to do something with waste because nobody could not do it. We found the subcontractor. So we opened the company, we got the license, and we found the subcontractor who helped us in this project. And in the middle of the project, this subcontractor faced a problem because one kind of crusher, impact crusher, was destroyed several times, and Pavel had to find solution. And finally, he found another impact crusher in Romania, and we fulfilled the project. It's just a case, small case, that you can find some kind of waste in your country, if even you live in developed country, and you can find the niche. The second case study is about opportunities. I was in Spain recently. I met with a local slag recycling company director. Not big volumes, but it's a stable, solid business. Got equipment, long-term contracts. The director of the company told me that they are operating at 50 capacity because there are no buyers for the final product. They could recycle more slag if they had sales channels. I realized if you are good enough at developing sales channels, you have a chance to build a company in Spain because Spanish slag is waiting for you. This is an example that in developed countries, you can also find a place in the sun. When I go to scrap conferences, such as beer or others, for several years, now I have been meeting people who live in the past. They remember how their scrap business grew 5 years ago, but not now. And they say every year that the market is bad and it is not a good year for their business. When I come to conferences related to recycling of slag, such global slag or Euro slag, it's completely different energy. There are fewer people, but these professionals have found something that puts a spark in their eyes. a desire to reach for new heights, and an impressive determination to learn. They see the possibilities and they are moving forward. It seems that the Slack business is more inspiring right now than scrap business. And I would like to be among people like that more, among people with sparks with their eyes. And I invite you to join the community people with vital energy, with ideas, with the confidence in the future. I really hope I can give you ideas for a business, rekindle the fire in many of you that you had, that you once had. I would be happy to have personal 15 minutes to 30 minutes video call with anyone interested. Here's the QR code to register. Once registered, you can book an appointment with me. Again, I just want to tell you that there are a lot of opportunities in waste processing business today. There are a lot of details, for sure, but it is not skyrocket science. And with me, you can make it faster and easier. Thank you.